Hey y'all, welcome back to Ramblin' Mama. I'm Lisa. If you're new here and you're into deep dives on true crime, please consider giving me a subscribe. I think you'll like what you see. Today's video, we're not really gonna do a deep dive. There have been so many interesting cases with new developments happening lately, so I thought instead of doing a deep dive, I would just do some updates on these 4 cases that I've been following. We're gonna go over Bryan Kohberger, Alex Murdaugh. There's been more drama with him lately. That doesn't seem like it's gonna end anytime soon. Mahek Bukhari, who I covered, it was one of my first videos that I did when I started doing true crime. And lastly, Elizabeth Holmes. So y'all let me know if you've been following any of these cases too, and if so, what your thoughts have been. Without any further ado, let's get into it.
Our friend Bryan Kohberger was arraigned earlier today being Monday, May 22nd. And when he appeared before Judge John Judge, I thought that name was kind of funny, his attorney, the public defender, Ann Taylor, said that they would be standing silent. So the judge entered not guilty pleas for the charges against Kohberger. Apparently, standing silent means the defendant neither pleads guilty or not guilty, but it basically is the same outcome as if they pleaded not guilty. I feel like this plea is not surprising in the least. Not only that he pled not guilty, because we saw that coming for a while, right? Back in Pennsylvania, when his former public defense attorney, Jason LaBarre, said that Bryan was really looking forward to being exonerated and looks forward to resolving these matters as soon as possible. So, and Bryan's family stood by him in that too. So from the beginning, he's been putting up this facade, or whatever you want to call it, of innocence, right? Some legal experts say that standing silent could be a tactic to continue negotiations with the prosecution, perhaps. Overall, Bryan looked pretty stoic, as usual, but I did notice some very interesting jaw and mouth action when he was answering the question from the judge if he understands the maximum punishment for each charge. I'm going to put in a clip of that here, if I can, without getting a copyright strike.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 2, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you
Also, this is just my opinion, but overall, watching him, I got the vibe that he's keenly aware of the camera, and not that he's looking at it or anything, but I feel like his movements feel very controlled and measured, and the nervousness and all the emotion is bubbling just below the surface, which feels even creepier to me. But let me know what you thought if you watched it. And his trial is officially scheduled to begin October 2nd of this year, which will be here before we know it. So hopefully that comes without any delay. Now on to equally popular, I guess, Alex Murdaugh. So the South Carolina justice system is not quite done with Alex Murdaugh yet. Over 5 years ago, he claimed that his then housekeeper, who was really an employed almost member of the family, she helped raise Maggie and Alex's sons, and then went on to be a housekeeper and seemed to be regarded as a member of the family until this freak accident occurred. So 5 years ago, Gloria had tripped supposedly over the family's dogs and hit her head. So her death was regarded as an accident, but her death certificate cited her manner of death as natural, which doesn't make any sense, and no autopsy was conducted. So just a few weeks ago, Alex admitted to lying about a key detail in her death. No surprise there, I'm sure. But there were no witnesses and no evidence of the dogs being around. And Alex recently filed a federal court document admitting that the dog's story was false. So, and from what I understand, his lawyers are now trying to say that that statement needs to be disregarded, the statement that he made that the dog's story was false. So, y'all, just a whole entire show. I'm sure we're not surprised. But in total, Alex is awaiting trial on more than 100 financial crimes. So we have certainly not heard the last from him. Right. Now on to Mahek Bukhari. And her case is one of the first ones that I covered on this channel. Today, May 22nd, as I said, is day 30 of the former TikTok star's trial. The prosecution is continuing to cross-examine her today. To refresh your memory, and for those who haven't been following the case, the allegation is that Saqib Hussein, one of the victims, was having an affair with Mahek's mother, Ansreen, and her mother was around 25 years Saqib's senior. And Saqib threatened to send naked pictures of Ansreen to her husband and son when she ended the relationship with him. So after this, Ansreen and Mahek agreed to meet Saqib in Leicester, and he was driven to the city by his friend Hashim. I always get his last name wrong. I'm sorry, but I think it's Jazuddin. But when Saqib and Hashim arrived at the meeting, all 8 defendants that are currently on trial showed up. And that's where they ambushed the men. They took Saqib's phone. They deleted these images that were in question about Ansreen. Saqib and Hashim managed to flee, but then a car chase ensued, which ultimately ended up in Saqib and Hashim's car veering off the road, killing the both of them. So the 8 defendants that got mixed up in this awful tragedy are so young, with the exception of Ansreen. I mean, 47 is still very young, but most of these defendants are in their early 20s, which is just so infuriating and heartbreaking to me. It's Natasha Akhtar, 22, Ansreen Bukhari, 47, her daughter Mahek Bukhari, 23, Rais Jamal, 22, Rakan Karwan, 28, Mohammed Patel, 20, Sanaf Ghulam Mustafa, 22, and Amir Jamal, 27. So Mahek's lawyer, Christopher Millington, has already told the jury that Mahek's version of events will be different from what she originally told the police in her interview following her arrest. The prosecution described that account as a pack of lies, and that's very accurate. They've already confronted several of the lies that Mahek's been caught in. For instance, she said that after the flaming wreck of the car in the center of A46, she didn't call emergency services because there were already emergency vehicles at the scene. When the prosecutor asked her why she told that lie, she said, quote, "I was just so annoyed that I didn't call the ambulance myself." So I guess she was annoyed that she didn't do it, so she tried to rewrite history. She also said that the vehicle that the men were in who died rammed into the vehicle that they were in, and there was a collision that led to the crash, when in fact there was no evidence of that found. All in all, it does not look good for Mahek. I'll keep y'all updated on this, but it appears that she's getting caught in a lot of her lies. Now, Elizabeth Holmes. Y'all remember her? Yeah, The series that they did on her on Hulu, the scripted series, was so good. And I'm sure it's going to end up in one of my videos at one point when I do a review of my favorite true crime drama series. Anyway, she is set to begin her 11-year prison sentence on May 30th of this month. She was initially scheduled to report to prison in late April on April 27th, but she managed to persuade the judge, which is definitely a recurring theme here, to allow her to delay so that she could make childcare arrangements because she has 2 young children. She was convicted on 4 charges, including fraudulently raising $700 million from investors for Theranos. And if you'll remember, Theranos was, the whole thing behind it was that they could do all of these tests on just 1 drop of blood. And you know, if you think about the implications for that, that's amazing. My husband and I just the other day were talking about wishing we could get all these tests run on my daughter, but she's so young, and we wish that the whole 1 drop test was a reality because that really would be amazing. So Elizabeth managed to really con a lot of people and hype up this fake service, and some of the people that she conned were quite prominent, like Rupert Murdoch, Larry Ellison of Oracle, and Walgreens were some of her prominent backers. So big people / institutions or businesses. At one point, Theranos had an $8 billion valuation, but the cards began to fall when the FDA began investigations on it in 2015. And then they got the attention of the SEC in 2018. And then Elizabeth and her ex-partner, who is alleged to have also been her romantic partner, Ramesh Balwani, were both charged with fraud. In 2019, Elizabeth apparently swindled another somewhat prominent male when Billy Evans, the millionaire whose family owns a big hotel chain, married her. Together, they had 2 kids. The younger one was just born this year, and she's going to serve her sentence in the minimum security federal prison in Bryan, Texas, while Ramesh just started his 12-year sentence in April. And I feel like based on that, you know, Ramesh getting a year more than her and starting it right away, it feels like she probably could afford better representation or something, that she was able to get less time than him, because I don't see how she could have been less culpable than him. But the pair have both been ordered to pay the $452 million to their victims. So we'll see how that goes.
Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment below and like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.